After some minor delays, I am glad to be talking on this episode of Words, Images, and Worlds with comics creator Miguel Jorge. Miguel, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on and joining me.
Thank you, Jason. My pleasure. Glad to
Uh,
meet you.
yeah, great to meet you as well. I think we were going to do a chat over the summer that got delayed, so now here it is,
Yeah,
almost the holidays, well established in December, and glad to be talking with you now. So, I'll mention a couple of works of yours that I'm familiar with, and then we can also touch on other work that you'd like to mention and other
sure,
directions.
sure.
So I think I first became acquainted with your work because I really enjoy the work of Jack Briglio
Mhm.
and the anthology flip. You had a sort of a vision of the future in that book, sort of a twisted reality sort of take.
Yeah,
And then I'm also familiar with Instruction Manual, which is not only just a wonderful premise, but it comes together very well with your art as well. And a literary kind of book in the comic space for fans of Jose Saramago and other such authors.
yeah. The writer Nun Markle really wrote a story that really touched me. And when he told me the premise of the what he had written originally for a movie, but
Mhm.
since movies take a long time to get moving in, especially in Portugal, and the investment is quite hard to get to get a movie going. We talked about the possibility of making it a graphic novel,
Mhm.
and I approached it with a very different style, a more cartoonish style, very different from the things I usually do, and it really worked. It connected with people, and we are very proud of the book.
Yeah. The central premise is essentially that there's a Nobel Prize winner, but his work is in instruction manuals, not poetry
It is
or
a
prose.
Nobel Prize winner level
Yeah, yeah,
writer of
yes,
instruction manuals,
yes.
and he's such a dedicated man to his craft, to his work, that he forgets everything that surrounds him, his family, his friends, everything. So he lives just to write instruction manuals.
Mhm.
Everything he does, everything he breathes is manuals. And until one day he's faced with the reality that his family is abandoning him
Mhm.
because they're sick and tired of this kind of workaholic madness that he lives in.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's when he realized that he has to write his own instruction manual to put his life together.
It's a beautiful idea. It's a beautiful
Yes, it
idea.
is. Yes, it is. And once Nuno just while we were having a coffee, he told me about the story. I just begged him, please let me do that book. I really need that book.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a story I'd love to tell.
And as I mentioned, it's on the shelf over your shoulder
Yeah,
there, and
it's over
it's just a
here.
beautiful book.
Yeah, here.
Mhm. So I'm curious about how you landed on comics as a way of storytelling.
Oh, it's something I really don't know if I can pinpoint the exact time or what made me connect, but it's something that I always surround gathered me myself around. You see, all that you see around me is comic books that I've
Hmm.
been reading for many years,
Love it.
and I've been reading comics consecutively since I was 9 years old, so over 40 years old now,
Yeah.
and it's something that I always wanted to do, um, and it's really something be able to tell a story just by some lines on the paper or on the screen. This time, in this case,
Hmm.
it's something that carries a magic inside me. I really loved it.
Yeah. You know, as is so often the case, I point out the fact that I'm a comics fan as well, and um, the fact that you create work in Portuguese, but it's still unlockable. It still carries across languages. I think is one of those wonderful parts of the medium as well, to connect with readers around the world, which is very cool.
Yeah, I've been working for a Portuguese market and also for the American market.
Hmm.
Um, as you mentioned, I worked first. here with no, I have it closer with Paul Salamoff on Tales of Discord,
Hmm.
also for Marcosia. And then I worked for with the that's when I was working for Marcosia. That's when I met Jack, and a few years later he invited me to participate in his anthology that he was working on, not only as an illustrator but also as a cover, not only as an interior illustrator but also as a cover illustrator. And
Hmm.
I really loved the work. We worked together on the first two volumes, and now I also am working on something. I think it's going to come out next year, but I don't have the precise date. Um, I've been working with a gentleman that wants to revive those old black and white magazines, the Savage Sword of Conan type.
Oh wow, yeah. Like the
So
tabloid size.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
he created a universe of his own, and he wrote a bunch of stories, and he gave a lot those stories to many artists around the world. And I've been lucky enough to work with him on three stories for the first six volumes. So it will be starting to come out, but I don't have the precise date yet. It will start to come out now in 2024. But I'm
Very
really
cool.
anxious to, yeah, I'm really anxious to see that result in print because I'm really happy with the work I did for him. And I've been working for the Portuguese market. I've adapted. I made. Okay, let me see. Okay, this here is a graphic novel about Magellan and his
Nice.
trip around the world. Spoilers, he didn't make the whole trip. Then I adapted a classic of Portuguese literature called Amor de Perdição. In English, it's something like Doomed Love. I think it's the translation from in English. It's a very old literature classic, and I was lucky enough to adapt for a collection of classics of literature adapted to a comic format, the collection that was coming out in Portugal. Um, they chose, they bought the collection from the French, but they chose to attach to that collection some Portuguese classics.
Nice.
In
Nice.
fact, they are now doing next year. They are doing a new series with only Portuguese classics,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll be doing another one that I'm working now. It will be in two volumes, so it's gonna be a lot of work. And then I did instruction manual.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's what I've been doing.
I love that you work across types of stories
Yeah.
and explore the medium that way. That's a very cool thing. And I love how some people connect to comics through superheroes, others through science fiction, and some through, like you mentioned, classics, the range of classics that are sort of explored in comics.
Yeah, I remember many years ago. I think it was First Comics that have a very massive collection of classics illustrated.
Hmm.
Um, I love those classics. I remember particularly one that was Moby Dick illustrated by Bill Sienkiewicz.
Oh yeah, yeah,
That was amazing, and it really shows you that you can get something that everyone knows and give it a new dimension and show it in a different way and an exciting way for a new audience.
yeah, yeah. And you mentioned before I hit record that instruction manual has also been not just in the comics community, but in the wider community, it's been celebrated. So would you
Yeah,
like to say more about that?
it was a surprise for us that when it came out in May, it started ranking through the top, and it left just the comic book. There are tops selling tops for the comic books that don't sell much, and for
Hmm.
literatures. And it was a very big surprise for us to see that our book got to the literature's top.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it broke through the ranks of the comic books and graphic novels and went to the literature level. And it was a very big surprise. It was lovely. Uh, People really connected with the work. And of course, the name of Nuno Marco in Portugal has a big weight
Mm-hmm.
on the process, but it was great because when we were having some autograph sessions, many people already had read the book, and they
Mm-hmm.
were complimenting the book and connecting with the story, even men and women of all ages. It was really, really a good experience.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. In the United States, I feel like there's still that kind of aura around comics as kids stuff or, not quite
It's not
as
just the United
literary.
States.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We have the same problem. It's not a problem. I think we I think we as creators may have failed in um, because you really don't have many kinds of work. Even the superhero genre, it has matured.
Hmm.
It's no longer for kids. If you're a reader of superhero comics, it's no longer for kids.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so we failed to get those kids that are still growing and showing them that they can read many more things, and we skip generations like that. We just keep doing stuff that was for kids a few years ago. Then they grew. We kept writing for them, but we forgot there are newer generations that we don't have anything for them now.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then the stigma is it was for kids, but these are grown kids that are still reading it.
Right.
No
Yeah.
one is discovering superhero comics. No one is discovering new genres of comic books, but on a younger generation,
Hmm.
we are failing as creators like that in that area.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting to think about because I know when I was growing up, of course, Batman was a big character in the States, and the animated series came out, and so that was a big connection to a lot of comics. But it's interesting to think about what would connect more young readers now, and then for young readers that sort of age out, and then they're like, okay, those next steps, because comics is such a it's a broad medium that can be used in so many ways,
Mhm.
as your
The
work
younger
illustrates.
generations, what younger generations are reading is just manga. There is
Hmm.
nothing wrong with manga. I love manga. In fact, I have two or three books and manga in my pile on my nightstand.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, but it's not a problem. It's something that usually, like the superhero genre, it evolved. That didn't evolve. So what I mean is that genre is locked on the age that those people are reading the book.
Hmm.
Once
Hmm.
they age out of that book, they drop comics,
Yeah,
or they drop the whole medium.
yeah.
I
Um,
don't know. I think I'm not making sense, but
no, no, you absolutely are. I was thinking about your work and how you've gone from reading to the creating side, and I was curious about your journey to Marcosia and what that was like.
my journey to Marcosia. And let me try to sum up.
Hmm.
Doing comics is something that I always wanted to do, and in Portugal it is hard. When I was growing up, there was no internet for me to connect with American uh, publishers. I tried. I even sent some samples to a Wildstorm talent hunt many years ago. I have stored somewhere the denial letter that I got.
Hmm. It's a rite of passage. Yeah.
A rite of passage. It was beautiful because it has an illustration by Travis Shares, which at the time was my favorite artist. And so it's starred with a lot of love.
Yeah.
But many years ago, so I was not able to break in at the time, and I had to keep working. But a few years later, I started making some connections through the internet with communities, and mainly who know Comic Geek Speak. was one of the first comic book themed podcasts back
I
in,
don't.
in
I
the
don't.
beginning of the 2000s. So I started making part of that community, which um, got me connected to many creators, many fans, and they started organizing mini cons in the States. And in one of those cons that I went to, organized by them, I met people from Marcosia.
Nice,
They
nice.
liked me, and they connected me with Jack.
Hmm, hmm.
And we were going to make a graphic novel together, but time and stuff didn't work at the time. And then while I was working on that, they were looking for illustrators for the Tales of Discord for Paul Salamov,
Hmm, hmm.
um, and that's why I started working with them.
Love it, love it. It sounds like you've met positive people in the community
Yeah,
along the
yeah, yeah,
way and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
positive collaborations. Uh, Curious about what is now next and on the horizon and where your creative lens is at the moment. That you, of course, that you can mention.
Well, as I told you, the next year will be coming out the first issues of the Legendary. I think Legendary. I think the name of the magazine will be Legendary, but I'm not
Hmm,
sure,
hmm.
and there's still not a fixed date for that. I'm currently working on the two volumes for the classics,
Nice, nice.
and once I'm done with that, I I started working something else with Paul Selmoff, with whom
More, more to come.
more to come.
Yeah,
It's sci-fi. We're both very excited with the project, and as I already developed some of the visuals which we are very happy with, and I'm really looking forward to start working on it.
wonderful, wonderful. Looking forward to that. My last official question then, and we can hit anything that we might have missed, and that is spaces where people can find out more.
Or well, in Portugal you can find my books in
Hmm.
any bookstore, but in the States it's kind of hard because I still haven't break it in.
Yeah. Well,
I think well, you have the Flip anthologies by Marcosi,
hmm,
Tales of Discord. I don't know if it's still in print, but I think you can find it on Amazon.
hmm, hmm.
And next year, Legendary magazine will be coming out.
And in terms of website, social media, uh,
Website, you can see my stuff on migueljorge.art,
hmm, hmm.
and I'm on Instagram at migueljorge7. Uh, and I have a Facebook page where I just post just art. Usually, it's the Miguel Jorge artwork page.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, have we missed anything in the brief talk through that you'd like to mention?
Well, I think we covered all the basics.
Yeah,
I think we
all the basics. And it's interesting, just returning to our conversation about the way the medium is accepted or taken up. It's interesting to think about how um, people view comics as either sometimes too adult, sometimes too youthful, and usually it seems to be just based on the comics they've seen. So, um, just to emphasize, it's a medium. It's not a genre.
exactly one
Yeah.
of the things that I haven't talked about. I just remembered. Um, during these years that I've been producing all these books, I also have been self-publishing an anthology with many friends
Yes.
called
Uh-huh.
Apocryphus. And one of the things I did exactly to cover the diversity, not only in the authors, is every volume has a different genre. The first was fantasy, the second was crime, the third I asked the authors to give me stories with only female protagonists,
Love it.
because in the
Love it.
first two volumes, one thing that I noticed, even the women writers always put male protagonists.
Hmm, hmm.
Uh, I wanted one volume to just to celebrate female protagonism.
Yeah.
Uh, it's not a feminist book. It's not. Some people tend to shiver a bit while they pick the book. I don't know. They feel frightened that they're going to get something contagious out of it. Um, but it worked very well. I'm very happy with it. Then I did another one with sci-fi theme
Hmm.
and a monster. So I've been covering some genres, different
Wow.
genres, and that worked out well. Got some prizes in Portugal. Uh, have it over there.
Nice. Nice, nice. Love it. Yeah, I appreciate what you're doing in the medium, and I appreciate what you're doing to share about what comics can do. As a final request, I've not asked guests to say hello and welcome to Words, Images, and Worlds, but I would love to have that from you in Portuguese if I could.
Portuguese.
Yeah.
So how is it? Welcome to.
Hello and welcome to Words, Images, and Worlds.
But you got me to translate the name also.
Yeah, I would love that, please.
So let me just say I won't fail. Worlds.
Hmm. Words, Images, and Worlds.
Olá e bem-vindos a Palavras, Imagens e Mundos.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And Miguel, it's great to talk with you and glad to have you back
Thank
to
you,
talk
Jason.
about
It was a
the
pleasure.
work to come as well.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.